program are pre-recorded. Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
I don't see any candy, Jim.
You don't see any candy?
Did you run out on Halloween or?
Wait a minute. I usually don't get a lot of trick-or-treaters, but this time we did. So, gave it all away, which is a good thing.
I don't believe you're telling me the truth. I think you're hoarding it for yourself. You didn't get the memo that I sent out to bring all your candy because we have 3 hours and I ran out. Well, we give out glow sticks generally. So, yeah. Okay. And we ran out of those too. So,
are you from a family of dentists?
I was in Minot. Oh, by the way, welcome to the Tech Ranch, everybody. Jim Silverum is in again this week, and we are, I don't know what we're going to talk about today. Obviously, Halloween for a little bit. I don't know if they do this in our neck of the woods here, but I was in Minot a lot in the last week, and there's a dentist up there that pays $1 for every pound of candy you bring in, and then they donate it to someplace, which I thought was kind of hilarious. Speaking of dentists, I thought that was funny.
Do they donate it to a segment of the population that is more prone to get cavities?
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's great thinking, right?
Yeah. So, well, my goodness. Or do they give it to the nursing homes where it really doesn't matter because they've got dentures?
So I dressed up as a talk show host and went around and collected, 182 pounds of candy. So I'm heading to Minot on Monday.
Okay. And you're going to...
I'm redeeming. If anybody else wants to join me, or wants to get rid of their candy, let me know.
And in this economy, you'll maybe break even.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping I can get about 500 or 800 pounds worth, and show up at the dentist office with this. Yeah, it's funny. So anyway.
So you're paying kids 50 cents here. So you can...
Did you ever, on pop bottles, the recyclable ones, especially the glass ones, they would always say that you'd get a nickel in Wisconsin and a dime someplace else. And you ever dream about, let's see, how many can I collect here in North Dakota? And is it worth my time to drive them over to Wisconsin then?
Okay, Seinfeld.
That's kind of what they did too, didn't they?
Yeah, George and what's the other?
That's Costanza, and then
Kramer.
Yeah, that's right.
They had this whole plan.
Wasn't the mailman involved in that too a little bit?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or maybe that was the muffin tops that he was involved with, the bottoms or whatever it was. But anyway, so interesting stuff today, everybody. We're going to be talking a little bit about 3D printing, and not the kind of 3D printing that we do with, cute little figurines from Star Wars and things like that. We're talking about building houses and all that good stuff. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. There's some news around batteries. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Of course, AI is just on fire right now. Not that it's really ever slowed down. It's just that there just seems to be so many things that are coming out right now. I don't ever remember a time since the start of personal computers, which goes back to the mid 80s, and I've been involved since then, so my first computer was an Atom computer. I don't know if you've ever seen those or not, but that hooked up to your television and had a daisy wheel as a printer.
Yeah.
So it was like a typewriter daisy wheel, and it sounded like a typewriter as it was going through. That was actually a cool thing, and I never understood why that didn't take off, because it was just kind of a cool thing. But anyway, probably because it was really slow. That's why. Couldn't print graphics except with dots and dashes, and that's what we did back then. It's interesting.
We used to create wonderful design.
Oh yeah.
It was the most incredible waste of time.
That and fax jokes. Everybody the fax machine would go off and the whole office would run over to it and wait to see what it was, because it wasn't about a purchase order or something coming. It was about the next joke coming across the thing. It was kind of funny. But yeah, AI is just on fire, and there's so much coming out right now around there. So we'll get into some of that a little bit too. Yeah, let's see what else we got here.
If we have time today, Marco, yeah. I've wondered, outside of work, what's your favorite app? we can talk about that because I've got mine. So let's save it for a segment because
we can. That's a good place to start. I think everybody can relate to this conversation. Work wise. No, I use a lot of stuff for work, but
I said outside of work.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I'm going to have to say ChatGPT right now.
Even outside of work.
Yeah, because I use it for. This is the thing, and you kind of last week talked about this a little bit. Are we at an era now where we're going to stop using apps, right? So I use ChatGPT for a lot of things I used to use apps for. So like if I don't know what a tree leaf is, like what kind of tree leaf is this? I won't go to the plant identification app that I have on my phone anymore. I just open up ChatGPT, take a photo, and it'll tell me. Oh, and by the way, it'll also tell me if it sees any disease in the leaf or things like that the plant ID one wouldn't tell me. The Mandan Hill, for example, where it says Mandan on the side. And for those of you who live in the Bismarck Mandan area in North Dakota, I know a lot of people live or listen to this program across the country, but in our area, there's a hill called Crying Hill, and we have the words Mandan on it. And there's a long history there. In the recent history, it has become overgrown. And again, there's just long history, and I'm not going to get into all the politics of everything here, but fortunately, there's a lot of communications been going on about what we can do to fix that hill up. And the first effort here was a local and national firm tested out some of their autonomous vehicles out there and took down all these trees and stuff. Well, my grandson and I went up there and we used our drones to take footage before they went up there because it's a very steep hill and it can be a little dangerous to work on this thing. And there were all these trees that had sprung up over the last 11 years. I'm the last one that painted those, by the way. And
the trees?
Yes. The letters. And they were in disrepair at that time. And that was 11 years ago. And, I as we took footage of that, and then I took pictures with ChatGPT of these trees, and it immediately told me that they were suffering from Dutch elm disease and that we need to remove these because otherwise, and these were just little saplings that were coming up. I was like, I didn't even know that could happen at such an early age. But anyway, so they have been taken down, and the whole thing's been cleaned up now, and it looks really nice.
It does.
So, I know the letters still need to be fixed up, of course, but the hill's looking nice, and I think next spring we're debating what to do with it next year, but it's going to be kind of cool. And there'll be some tech in that, and we'll talk about that some other time. I'm just running up to the break now, so I'm just going to keep talking about this stuff and talking about it and talking about it.
Even letting me
until I run out of time, which is right now.
Super Talk. Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
And welcome back, everybody. Jim Silram, our friend of the show. And
at least presently.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, can we put part-time co-host on your title now?
Does it come with a raise?
You get paid as much as I do for this. Just, this is a labor of love. I've been told this many, many times.
Okay.
You should share your wealth of information in your head for the good of the people.
Okay.
So there's no price tag that comes with that. There's no, I'm just kidding.
So you're saying there is a chance I'll get a raise. 100% above what I'm making.
Absolutely. I might buy you coffee sometime. How's that sound?
I don't drink coffee. I'm not old enough.
Even better.
Thanks, man.
I'll just drink yours instead. It's delicious, by the way. Don't you love the smell of coffee? Do you like the smell of coffee even though you don't drink it?
I don't.
You don't even like the smell of it.
No, I think I might have used to when it was just coffee, but my wife is an avid coffee drinker, and she gets so many different kinds of flavors of coffee, and sometimes when those are brewing, I just think, what is that smell?
So she doesn't add syrups and things, so she just buys these flavored type of beans or whatever. I see.
Sure.
Yeah. I haven't really done much of that. I wouldn't mind trying some of that. And I never step away from vanilla. I guess I just always put a little shot or two of vanilla in my coffee, and that's good enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
And black is okay too, like what I'm drinking right now. I would have never dreamed of that. I must have grown up because 2-3 years ago I was not drinking coffee at all.
Oh, really?
I know. Hard to believe, right?
Wow.
I was a Diet Coke guy.
Okay.
After all these years. I wonder if they make an app for Diet Coke. Because I miss the fizz at the can when you open it, right? There's something about that. Anyway, all right. So app. So I have where everybody, if you're just catching up to us, Jim just asked me before the break what kind of apps I'm using now personally, not for work, which is for me is blended because I think I'm always working on something. But my number one app for work would be ChatGPT, and I think personally it would be that as well. And I just thinking about what I use it for. I mean, I have conversations with it. I have ideas, so I have conversations with it now. I use it to, if I have an idea for a Facebook post, for example, and I don't really know quite how to word it in a couple sentences or whatever, I'll put my idea for the post in there, and then I'll ask it to create a Facebook post for that, or I'll put a photo. I'll take a photo and post it up, and I'll just say, hey, what can you write a Facebook post about this photo? And I want it a little humorous and with a slant towards North Dakotans, for example, or whatever, because I'm always thinking about what might be funny on there, right? And it'll at least give me ideas that I can generate off of that. So, and then I use it, like I said, for plant identification. I use it for repairs. Have you done this?
I haven't used it for repairs.
So I've been working in the garage a little bit, and I'll take a photo of something, and then it'll identify it, and then it'll say it looks like it's under a little distress. You should consider sanding that and then painting it with blah 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 type of paint.
Wow,
isn't that something?
It is.
So, and we're at a point now where I'm sure. I guess I'm not 100% sure with this, but I think and I'm only picking on ChatGPT, everybody. That's just because it's a personal preference. But if you like Claude or if you like Gemini or whatever, I mean, whatever your preference is for AI, most of these are capable of doing these same things. But I'm sure that at 2:00 in the morning, when you desperately need your dryer to work because you forgot to wash the clothes you needed for tomorrow at work, right? And you're drying them and it breaks down. It would probably help walk you through how to fix it. I mean, that's kind of where we're getting at with this. And I think that's true with, if you take a photo of your, when you're working on your car's carburetor, if you have something that's a 1974 or whatever, I think we're getting at the point where AI will really help you with those type of repairs, which I think is interesting.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
Never thought about using it that way before.
I think this is what all right. So Jim, before we convene next week, you have ChatGPT on your phone, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The free version.
Okay. I think the free version will get you through this, right? And if it doesn't, maybe that'll be your raise. Maybe you can I'll buy you the paid version for a month. But I challenge you to use ChatGPT in your everyday life. If you're looking at something and you don't understand it, take a picture of it and talk to it and see if you can understand the certain thing. I mean, if you have a job in front of you, and I just looked at my yard again this morning, I'm like, you kidding me? I've already mowed you twice, and where did all these leaves come from again? But it looks beautiful because all the leaves are so amazing this year. It's just, there's all these colors and stuff, so it's great. But, you could take a picture of that and say, give me some ideas on how to clean this up. And you might be surprised. It might actually come up and say, hey, you should try this. Wow. I just always have mowed them. This might be interesting. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing those things out at you,
So is it going to tell me to go old school and get out a rake?
Probably. But, it might, I've always thought about, what do I do to winterize my yard, for example? I mean, do because it's starting to dry out a little bit. I know we had some rain this week, but it's looking a little peaked now because you've turned the sprinklers off and done all this. I mean, should you continue to water your yard so it looks green until the snow comes, or do you let it just do its thing? And is it better next spring? Because I don't know the answer to that, but I'm sure ChatGPT does. So you can take a picture. And so I'm challenging you, and I know I'm taking up all the air in this conversation again. But I think it's an interesting challenge to you and to everybody to start understanding how artificial intelligence can actually change your everyday life.
And maybe we should put that out to the listeners too, to send us what they discuss.
Oh, that would be interesting.
And,
yeah.
And we could even create a Facebook post on that. So
that would be fun. We should do that.
It would be a chance for them to respond easily.
I will actually do that after the show today so people can respond. How have you used ChatGPT or other artificial intelligence in maybe ways that you don't think about using it? And I think it would be interesting to find out. And you have to think about, and we're going to run up against the clock here again, but you really have to think about that you still are the creator. It's just a tool. It's something that's, you're going to be doing this project. You're thinking about a science project for school, and we can get into the school aspect here in a little bit, and I guess we'll get to that in the next segment.
The Ben Talk lineup is on Super Talk 1270. Check out the program schedule at supertalk1270.com and on the free Super Talk 1270 app. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
And we're back, everybody. Blabbermouth Anderson at the microphone right now. And Jim Silverum's in the studio. Not that anybody would know that. I've always wondered if, whether you liked or hated Rush Limbaugh, he had the ability to sit in front of a microphone and talk for 3 hours every day. No guests, none of that. That's an incredible talent.
Yeah.
When you think about that.
And I understand the amount of preparation he used to do for every day's show.
It had to be massive, right?
Massive.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when I can almost talk an entire segment, that's like, I'm like, oh, I'm entering that realm now. Yeah. But I'm not. Having conversations.
Some of our listeners would say, Marlo, you don't want to enter his realm of stardom.
Yes, you're probably right. Probably right. All right. So I was just, you know what? I'm going to stop there because I can just go on and on and on about AI. Jim, what is your favorite app that you use, not or outside of work?
Well, for me, it has to be, since I'm such an avid reader, I use, my personal preference is Audible. And so I am listening to books all the time outside of work, and it allows me to be as up to date on my reading as I want to be. But it allows me to get so many other things done. Like I will clean the house with my headphones on. I will mow the yard with my headphones on. It allows me to do so many other things at the same time and still be a well-read individual. And I find that to be an incredible not a time saver so much as just allowing me to do what I need to do along with what I want to do at the same time.
Do you consume podcasts and things too?
I don't. My wife does. She's a fanatic about podcasts, but I tend to like novels, whether they be historical novels or whether they be just pure fiction, whatever. And oftentimes I get into the classics just because I know, hey, it's good for me to have read those who are truly gifted at putting words to paper.
Yeah.
Do you
ever since you consume historical novels, both fiction and nonfiction, do you ever get the facts confused a little bit? Like, you read a fictional work and then you read a non-fictional. This would be me, right? And then, and you know this, and that'd be all over the place. Hey, did you know Daniel Boone did this? And it was a totally fictional thing, right? So, I think the only time that gets confusing is when in a truly fictional novel, they bring in real life characters. Gotcha.
And then you have a tendency to forget for a minute, and then you have to remind yourself, no, I'm listening to a story, I'm not listening to history.
Have you? And I know you listen to books more than anything else, but did you watch Wyatt Earp and the Cowboy Wars?
I sure did.
What did you think?
I really, really liked it. It made me say to myself, oh boy, I think I knew the OK Corral. I think I knew the characters involved, Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday and the like. But after that, there's a lot that I learned that, who knew that it reached that gunfight reached all the way to London?
Yeah, it's quite the deal. And the chaos that happened afterwards was really the deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I'm really getting at, though, it's a fascinating story, but the way the documentary was produced,
mm-hmm.
With this driving bass, and it was almost a sit on the edge of your seat type of thing, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is from a story 100 and some years ago. And, 150 now, I suppose. And I was just fascinated by all of this. And it was like watching a major motion picture.
Right.
It was just that well done. So Anyway, not to get off the track here, everybody, but there are more and more of those type of things too. And I think a lot of it is to do, getting back to technology, the ability to tell these stories in this dramatic flair that maybe we've never really experienced before, because AI is driving the cost down of doing these type of projects too. So,
and to compile history,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just one source that you're referring to for the history. It's allowing you to compile sources from many different vantage points, because they often say that history is has subjectivity to it because of who's telling the story. So if you can think of it as witnessing an accident, and you had someone standing on each corner of the street where the accident occurred, and you could gather their stories from that, you would have a much more complete picture of history.
Right.
So, this day and age is phenomenal in that regard.
Well, and you think about, as you know, I have old newspapers hanging in my place here, and there's one that's 1806, and it's and I have it because Lewis and Clark went back to Congress to ask for more money, because they didn't think they'd be gone for 3 years. So they were a little underpaid. And of course but you read through the paper, and it's really interesting. The country's out of money. We're at war someplace. And I'm reading through this, and I'm like, nothing's really changed. It's just the cast of characters that have changed. Somebody's sleeping with somebody. All this stuff is going on.
Yep.
And I'm like, nothing's changed in 200 and some years, with the exception of the speed that we get the news.
True.
Back then it could take months before the whole country even knew who the president was, who won the last election. Next week we'll find out in that evening. Well, maybe not. But generally that is how it works, right? So it's interesting the speed at which things travel.
Super Talk. Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back, everybody. Jim Stillrum is sitting across from me here today. Thanks, Jim, for filling in again.
Thanks for inviting me.
So this is becoming commonplace and a lot of fun every week. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, we have good conversations. Hopefully our listeners are enjoying conversations.
It's those two bozos again. Click and go to the next station. Please stay tuned. We truly have something inspirational and educational in our show today.
Marlo, you took up the first two segments, and I got to be involved in the last one.
That's true.
I know there's at least something that, because I spoke last segment, there's something that.
Yeah, that's something to hang on to. You can speak more right now. I impolitely cut you off at the last segment there. You were right in mid sentence when I said, nope, we got to go to commercial.
Well, I was just saying you were talking about how next week on election night we'll find out hopefully who won, and I was just going to say I think the world is holding its breath that it will be an obvious winner as opposed to one of those close races that we've had for the last number that have caused for all kinds of election lawsuits and the like.
So I agree. I hope that, whoever wins with enough that that the country can just kind of move forward right away. So that would be great.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you use Audible a lot, and
I would say daily.
Wow. Do you read it all?
Yes. I do read, but in my opinion, there is nothing better, nothing more enjoyable than being told a story.
Do you prefer when the author reads the story to you, or do you like it when there's an actor that comes in, a voice actor, and does the story for you?
Oftentimes, when the author reads it, it's the worst production ever.
Really?
In my opinion. You would think it would be different, but I will oftentimes pick a selection just based off of who is doing the reading, because, for example, there's a person by the name of George Guedel who is phenomenal at reading stories, and I would think that people would be, people who write books would be just like, please let him read the book, because there are plenty of people like me who will choose books and not choose books based on who wrote it.
Well, who reads it.
Who reads it.
So is it, one of the things that we talk about a lot, like in the podcast space and even here, I mean, this radio show, for example, we had a couple of bumpers created. So the music you hear before and after the Tech Ranch, for example, I had hired that out. So it's unique to our show. I've been around, I guess, long enough now that I know the value of doing those type of things, and I'll spend a little extra to produce those type of things and have a great voice actor come in and introduce the show and all of these things. And so that when we're in the podcast space, I do the same thing too. And, so if you listen to like our new show, The Absurdists, which, would be fun to have you on one of these days. I know I tell you this all the time, but we need to have you on that show. That, we've done some of those things too. And now we're discussing about, do we add sound effects within there? So if we're talking about, the warning label episode, which I always seem to go back to all the time, when we're talking about, the warning label on the side of wheelbarrows that it says it's not intended for highway use. I mean, do we create a sound effect of a wheelbarrow going down a highway, and does that add more to it? Is this true because you're going to find this hard to believe. I have never listened to a book.
Well, I don't find it hard to believe, because some people actually detest having books read to them. It's a really divided world in that space.
Okay.
And
I've just never experienced it, so I don't even know. I don't even have an opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. If I have, I guess this is just my own personal thing. I love music.
Yeah.
So when I have those type of times that you're talking about, if I was doing, working in my garage or whatever, I would probably be listening to Prince or whatever instead, right? I mean, I would just be listening to some of my favorite music or maybe something I've just newly discovered or whatever. That's what I use. But going back to so the person that reads these stories that you like, George
Guidall.
Thank you. Does he tend to add sound effects?
No.
Okay.
And that's, with Audible, for example, I'm sure there are others like it, but you can listen to a sample of the book before you purchase it.
Okay.
And if that's even if there are multiple voices, let's say there are 10 characters in the book and each character is a different voice.
That does happen.
I will turn away from that book entirely. I want it read by one single professional reader.
So you want the story part of it. You don't want to have this thing acted out like it's almost like a movie type of scenario.
Correct. I do like it. Like, for example, right now I'm going through an American classic. I wonder why it's called American Classic, but it's Lonesome Dove.
Okay.
And this particular actor who's reading it does bring in the different types of voices, like a Texas drawl or a Tennessee accent, or
but the voice actor does that.
He does that himself.
Gotcha.
And I wasn't sure how I liked it, but it's a really lengthy book, and I've really gotten to enjoy it. Because you just know that when Gus McCrae is talking in the book, his voice is very definitely distinct from the others, and I appreciate that artistic creativity that the author or the actor has put into it.
Very interesting. So.
And going back to your technology on podcast, only do the sound effects if they're well done.
Gotcha. That would make sense, and I appreciate the advice.
Talk of the Town, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
Now you can 1270 on Alexa.
Hiya.
Find out how at supertalk1270.com.
Goodbye.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
And for whatever reason, we've been talking about Audible and Audible or books that Jim gets read to him. Does this bring you back to your childhood a little bit, Jim? Is that why you like this so much? Or
I don't know that it does that.
Okay.
It might.
Did your mom or dad read to you when you were a kid?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I have always been fascinated by story. I love movies. I love television series that you were talking about. Wyatt Earp and the Cowboy War. I love stories like that. So, and in my day, I have been hired professionally as a storyteller, doing that for rather large audiences where I would memorize stories by, and then tell them that way.
Sure.
And so I think because I've dabbled in it before. I just so appreciate it and like it whenever I get a chance to partake in it.
And I'm only asking because I just I've never listened to a book. And I know, I'm working on a couple books myself. And I mean, even the publisher is like, are you going to read your book for an audible version, or are we going to hire somebody else? And I'm like, I don't know. I guess I never really thought about it before. So this is really, I don't mean to make this sound so interesting, and it's probably boring to everybody else. I don't know, but I find it fascinating. So is it quicker to read a book, in your opinion, or to listen to a book?
Oh, it's much quicker to read a book.
Oh, okay.
Because you can speed read it. But you listen to a book and it's at the speed of a normal conversation. So it's much faster. If you're able to speed read, it's much faster to read it.
Does it, but you feel it draws you into the story more if you listen to it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And more importantly, it makes mundane chores go by quicker.
Sure.
It makes me want to, look, that corner really needs to be cleaned over there. Well, I've got a book to listen to. I'll get after it. So, to me, that's why I brought it up is because it's technology that helps me in my personal life to do what I need to do, and so I will try your Chat GPT challenge and see.
Well, that's a whole different thing. I would if you're looking at cleaning up that corner or fixing something in the corner. Use ChatGPT for ideas on how to fix it first, and then turn your Audible on and fix away.
Oh man, I can just think back, a few weeks ago when I was changing the drive belt in my lawn tractor.
Oh yeah.
It was frustrating me to no end, and the directions in the owner's manual that I still have, even though I purchased the thing years ago. I don't know. I sometimes think those owner's manuals are written by people who don't understand how to communicate.
Well, that's true. And it's funny you bring this up because, a lot of times, like if you buy something from China and they have an English-speaking person in the factory or their communications person or whatever, they still don't understand the nuances of English. So then, you get this kind of crazy little instruction manual that comes along with it. You know what the trick to figuring that out is? You take a picture of it and in ChatGPT, and you explain to it that you're putting together this piece of furniture or this piece of equipment, and these are the instructions. Can you decipher these instructions and create a new set of instructions to put together? And guess what?
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
That's awesome.
So, if you're having problems understanding instructions, just take a picture of it. And put it in ChatGPT. It has the ability to read words on images now. So it's just easy. I actually have taken pictures of my handwriting, which I don't even understand most of the time, and I wrote it, and it can decipher it. Sure. It's just amazing. And so if you're, taking notes someplace or whatever, and you want to make a digital copy of that, and you have it on paper, you just snap a photo of it, put it in ChatGPT, and it'll digitize it for you. Just bang, just like that. So
it's interesting. You think about writing instruction manuals. That is done by what's known as a technical writer.
Right.
You wonder if companies like a company in Japan, instead of hiring a U.S. company to rewrite the instructions, or an individual, if they don't just feed in the instructions in Japanese and then have it come out in English or French or Spanish or whatever.
And I think now with AI, that's going to get a lot better with these instruction manuals anyway. Mm-hmm. I think that ability. Oh, that's the other thing, by the way. I use it for so much traveling, right? I'm in Paris here a few weeks ago, and I'm looking at this menu. I have no idea what it's saying because I do not speak French. So I take a picture of the menu and just whizzy bang, whizzy boom, there it is in English.
That's an app? Whizzy bang, whizzy boom?
Yeah, called ChatGPT. Whizzy bang, whizzy boom. That's a great name for an app, actually. But I was concerned about ordering snails, and I wanted to have something other than that.
Oh, Marlo, this brought up. You said it's a great app. Maybe we can brand some form of AI as whizzy bang, whizzy boom for the common person to use AI.
That's funny.
And maybe they'd be much more enticed to use it as opposed to. Yeah, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
That sounds like something.
It sounds, but whizzy bang.
Or Claude or all the different AIs that are out there.
I think an AI called whizzy bang would be hilarious. This is a good idea, actually.
I think we should create our own.
I love it. That's really good.
Create a data center to have our own AI farm.
You have, we only need $20 billion. So can you write me a check and we can get started on whizzy bang, the AI?
Well, I'll give you half. Will you put in half?
I could figure that out.
Okay.
So yeah, fair enough. Write me a check. I'll write you a check back and we'll be good to go. So, all right, everybody, we are put another segment. We are going to talk about 3D printing, and this is a very, very unique way to get to printing houses, and not in the traditional, which is not traditional way of 3D printing houses. There's a new thing that's emerging, which is really exciting, and we'll be sharing that in the next segment. So stay tuned, everybody.
Super Talk.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
And here we are again, everybody. So over the break, we were talking about I'm just back on the ChatGPT thing. So I think I should talk a little bit about, or share with you about the ways I use ChatGPT. And again, you can probably use Gemini and Claude and those other AIs that are out there too. I just use ChatGPT a lot. I do use Claude quite a bit and Gemini too for different types of tasks. But the fact that I carry ChatGPT with me on my phone and I chat to it, I know you can do that with Gemini too. So Gemini is a Google product. So if you have Google, if you're paying for Google, or if you have a Gmail account, you have access to Gemini, gemini.google.com. And I would highly recommend that you check that out too. But anyway, so first step, when you get these documents, right? My goodness, you read through them. It's 10 pages, 20 pages long. It can just take a lot of time. They can be confusing, all these other things. So I've really gotten the habit of putting these documents I get for work and for my personal life into AI, and I will tell it, like, you are reviewing this as the manager of the elevator I work for, or that I'm buying a car, right? Or a house. These things can be crazy long, and you put them in there, and then you ask it to provide a summary of all the things in there that you think I would be interested in, and it will provide that summary for you. It will also, if you ask it, a lot of times what I'll do is you want to prompt these AIs in right away to tell them what they're doing, right? So for my businesses, for example, I will put in there, I have an LLC, Marlo Anderson LLC, right? And I'll put in there that you are now the attorney for Marlo Anderson LLC. And it'll come back and state, hey, I'm not an attorney, blah, 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 blah. But you set the precedent. It knows what you're going to do, right? So then, because it knows that it's acting on behalf of you, you'll put that document into that contract, whatever, and then it'll actually come back and say, all right, these are the things that are good in the agreement. These are the things that you should watch out for. And maybe these are the things, this is how I would reword it or whatever. So if you have an attorney on the other side or whatever that's reviewing this, and you don't want to spend, the hundreds of dollars an hour to have somebody review a standard document, these are things that you should do. And if it does come up with something, a lot of times we just blanket sign these things, right? They're long. You maybe trust the person that's sending it to you, but should you really do that? So put it in there, let it do its review, and if there's some whammy kind of that comes up in there, that's when you talk to your attorney and say, hey, I want to do business with these people or whatever, but I got a problem with this particular phrase in this contract or this agreement or NDA or whatever you're signing. And those things are important, and they can save you, the AI that you're using can save you a lot of time and hassle and potential legal problems in the future. So I think that is a great place to use, like a ChatGPT in your everyday stuff. So other things that I do. So I use it, in management of my everyday stuff, and I have this whole list of things in front of me that I have used it for. So, like creating plans. I have a podcast called The Absurdist, and so I used ChatGPT to help me create that plan for that. Collaboration ideas. I've used ChatGPT for creating ideas around collaborations with particular individuals or companies, for example. So that can be really, really an important thing as well. Tech-related work. This is amazing, by the way. I've used ChatGPT and Gemini for filling out things for the government. So for example, I've had a couple of reasons in the last year to use the USPTO, so the United States Patent and Trademark Office, for a couple of trademarks that I've filed. And this is the first time that I didn't use an attorney for it. And, probably the biggest thing is the time part of it. I was in the real time crunch and I needed to get this stuff filed. So I filed it with ChatGPT and had it help me craft the responses, and even things that I didn't understand, it would help me understand it, and then we'd come up with an answer for it, right? So it really helped with that. I was very, very impressed with that. Let's see, social media tasks. I mean, we create some of our social media content with the help of artificial intelligence, which I think it's really helpful, especially on the ideation side of things and strategies. I mean, I am also the president of the Music Hall of Fame, and we're revitalizing that right now. And some of that stuff probably wouldn't even be happening if it wasn't for the fact that AI helps us through this and takes advantage of, what would normally take me 8 hours to work on, I get done in an hour. So my volunteerism that I do is greatly benefited because I don't have the kind of time I used to volunteer for things. So as a result, it still seems like I'm helping and doing things because I'm able to use AI better, and it just enhances that ability that I have for that, right? So those are all cool things as well. I chat to ChatGPT all the time. I'm traveling down the car. It used to be a scenario where I'd use my car to call people, and I still do that, of course, making business calls and personal calls to get caught up on things. But if I have ideas that I want to think through or whatever, I'll open up ChatGPT and start talking to it as I'm driving down the road. And it's like having a conversation with you. It really is. And, it seems a little more maybe optimistic and upbeat, but it'll also tell you, if he doesn't think that that's the best route to go, maybe for an idea that you have, that type of thing. And, it can be funny. You can ask it to create jokes and be humorous around different things. I have a lot of fun telling it to have different accents, like Scandinavian accent, and have it tell Ole and Lena jokes to people and things like that. So it can be an entertainment tool as well, which can be a lot of funny, and it can be endearing. I mean, you can take. I was just at an event here not too long ago, and this person was telling me a story that they had while they were serving in the military that was quite poignant. And I had ChatGPT listen to the story, and it created a poem around it, So, and it really brought the gentleman to tears. It was really quite a strong moment, and I think he was stunned at that AI can be used for those type of things. So, this is just a quick overview, but I always ask ChatGPT. The question I always ask it is, what else do you need to know from me And it will always help. That will always help you get the best answers you possibly can from ChatGPT and other artificial intelligences. So I hope that helps a little bit. Sorry, Jim. I guess I got a little long-winded again.
To Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
And we're back to my tech show now. We're going to get away from Jim's tech show. Oh, hello, Jim. Jim Stillroom in the studio. Well, I know I've probably dominated the conversation, but, it's your ideas that we've been talking about. And
that's okay.
And you got me started on ChatGPT, which you should never do, as you have found out.
Hey, I could drop a nickel on the floor and you'd say, ChatGPT will help that understand how to pick it up.
You don't understand the aerodynamics before it hit the ground and all this stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And again, I mean, it's just my AI of choice, but, I really enjoy this ability, and I really enjoy the ability to talk to it. And I guess that's the one thing I wanted to mention about this too is, you're talking about making an instruction manual and things like this, right? I have just gotten to the point where instead of typing everything into ChatGPT, I just talk to it and then I tell it to organize the thoughts. So if I'm making an instruction thing for somebody, I'll put all the things in there that I see that needs to be told to somebody to put this thing together or whatever it is, right? And then it will organize those things for me in a very, very professional looking layout.
Yeah.
So that ability, in my opinion, is just, I don't even know how to describe it, quite frankly, because these things that I would spend hours and hours and hours on now, I mean, I spend minutes on. It's just absolutely incredible. And I'm at the point where when I'm thinking up, if I'm working on a project or whatever, I just go to it first and I just ask it, can you do this? And if it can't do it, it's going to tell you. And then you have to do it the old school way. But if it can do it, it'll also tell you that. And even if you have to do it the old school way, it might give you ideas on how to do it more efficiently and better. So it's like I use it so much. I just can't get over how much I use it. And I love the gift of time. And I know we talked about that a lot last week that it has given me because I'm able to fit all of these crazy things I have going on right now into my workday.
Yep.
Which I'm sure people just look at and go, because I get to ask this all the time. How do you get all these things done? Well, it's because I use these tools that we have around us. I mean, that's the only way I could possibly do it. And I'm sure Elon Musk, but you think about what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely insane what he's doing. And you can't tell me that he doesn't have, AI involved in everything that he does right now. He's got AI agents working on things and all of this stuff. So it's incredible.
Yeah.
It really is. But, all right. 3D printed houses. This, speaking of incredible, is also incredible. And I'm just going to read this to you. I'm not going to read the whole thing. So just settle back, relax, and you're going to get the musings of Marlo Anderson, the guru of geek.
Channel George Guidell.
There you go. It's probably a better way to do that. So impact printing is a cement-free alternative to 3D printed structures. So basically, now when you 3D print a structure, it's like a big 3D printer. So imagine that, everybody, that, the 3D printers that you've seen in offices or in homes or whatever that print the little whizzy bangs. I'm going to throw that out there now. Oh, that's right. It's an AI. Yeah. And imagine that, on steroids, that's 1,000 times larger. But instead of using filament plastic, they pour a special mix of concrete and a little resin. And it kind of depends on the area, like if it's in the northern part, which we don't see a lot of yet. I think that they're still concerned about the weather here and especially the cold factor. But down south, there are all kinds of companies now that are 3D printing houses. So this is really, really interesting. A team of researchers from the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, Zurich, claims to have developed a robotic construction method that is better than 3D printing. Impact printing uses earth-based materials such as sand, silt, clay, and gravel to make homes. It is less carbon intensive and much more sustainable and affordable than 3D printing. Earth-based materials are abundant, recyclable, available at low cost, and can even be excavated at the construction site. The researchers plan to commercialize this technology once they have a prefabrication facility. So it goes back to building sod houses.
Yes, I was just thinking that.
My guess is that they have devised a way to put these materials into a system that probably creates some type of brick or whatever on site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the energy inputs are required for that.
Yep.
Because to know whether it's truly a savings in that regard, because as you and I both know, there are plenty of ways to reduce carbon emissions, but the energy input for them right now is so tremendous that you're not saving anything at all in terms of CO2 production.
Right.
So I'd be curious what's going into the technology to make it that way.
I think the ability, for example, and I'm just thinking out loud. Well, first of all, I always thought about what it would be like if, did you ever have a trash compactor? Maybe you still do.
No,
okay.
Never have.
But, at one time those were very, very popular,
yes.
right? And I always thought, well, those things are just cubes. Why can't we just use those to build houses? Just throw all your Coke bottles in there and it crushes them up. And then there's another Lego block that right there. Just stack them on top, use a little mortar, and there we go.
You wouldn't want to throw in your banana peels.
No.
Because it would get kind of ripe.
But my guess is, I know we're laughing about this, but my guess is that's what this is. I mean, they call it impact printing.
Okay.
I'm guessing that they're just using some type of crazy pressure to, put these things together. That would be, it would be interesting to see. But like when you dig out the basement for your house, and you have to move this dirt away or whatever you're going to do with it, now you can just use it.
Yeah.
You can dig it out and then make the bricks or the foundation that you need out of the things you just moved out of the basement that you dug out in the first place.
Sure.
That's interesting. And I'm sure it gets very interesting when we go to the moon and Mars.
Oh, for sure.
Because if you can use the materials that are just right there in front of you, as opposed, and this has been talked a lot about with 3D printing of structures once we get to the moon and Mars, that you have to be able to use these things that are there, because if we have to ship all this stuff up there, oh my goodness, the cost of doing that is astronomical.
I don't think Lowe's or Home Depot are going to be making deliveries to Mars.
I can see the first business on Mars is Lowe's. And they have a whole section on low gravity building or something along those lines. That would be hilarious, right? Because you can't use an air hammer, when you're in low gravity, for example.
Might be a fun idea for a story.
1270.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
So on top of everything else, we have new batteries.
Okay. Tell me about them. Tell me.
Hello, Jim.
Hi.
Everybody, Jim Silverum, our co-host, is in studio as well. We've had quite the show already today.
Yeah. Just call me Coco from the
Coco. I like that. We got Whizzy Bang and Coco out of this program today.
I'll take a hot chocolate.
Cocoa? Yes, you will. You are a lover of hot chocolate.
I am.
Cocoa.
And it was National Chocolate Day recently this week.
It was, yeah.
And I hate to admit it, but even though I planned on it, I never had any kind of chocolate that day.
Zero?
I was so disappointed.
You didn't even find a Hershey's chocolate bar or anything?
No, I didn't.
No chocolate cake?
No, I wanted chocolate cake.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Do you have a favorite chocolate cake?
No, I can't really say that.
So German chocolate cake isn't
that's something I won't touch because it's got coconut in it.
Oh, so okay.
And I'm not allergic to coconut. The texture of it makes me want to heave.
So no coconut milk either?
No, I don't.
Interesting.
Even coconut oil I won't use. So, but yes, so Milk chocolate is my favorite. I know dark chocolate is better for you, but
yeah, it was interesting. On National Day calendar, we had a poll of milk chocolate versus dark chocolate, and it was really participated in. I mean, a lot of polls, we might have a couple hundred responses, whatever. This poll just went crazy, and by far the people picked dark chocolate over milk.
Really,
I was really surprised by that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just because most of the people that are taking the poll are adults, and most of them are probably female because most of our followers are female on National Day calendar. So I found that interesting. I think that, I don't know. I mean, I've had dark chocolate that I think is really good too. But the more, it's like the more that there is of the dark chocolate, the healthier it is, right?
Right.
So if you get you want to look for 90% or more of dark chocolate. If it's 70% or more, then it's not as healthful for you.
Right.
Something along those lines.
The only way I like dark chocolate at all is when mint is included.
Oh, well, that's not a terrible thing.
I know.
I think mint's good for you too.
But it's just it shows how much I'm not a dark chocolate fan.
Most normal.
I'm not bittersweet.
We'll leave it there. You should, most summers, if you were to wander into my front yard, you would be greeted by mint.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing. Oh, I love growing mint, and I love the smell of mint, and supposedly it keeps some of the mosquitoes and things away too. I guess they don't like it so much, and I'm surprised by that because I think it's amazing. So why would mosquitoes not think it's amazing?
Right.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So new batteries. Speaking of stuff. So
chocolate to batteries. Okay.
Yes. So let's see here. I think we should go through a lesson first. So the evolution of batteries, I think you have to understand how we got to where we're at. So it seems like commonplace, right? Why are we even having this conversation about batteries? Because they're everywhere. Well, batteries run a lot of things. Mm-hmm. It's incredible actually how many things have batteries in them nowadays, and more all the time. I mean, as we become more and more mobile, I mean, our whole world runs on these devices, these smart devices that we carry with us that pretend to be kind of a phone, but they're more a computer, right? All batteries. So 1799, Italian physicist Alessandro Volta, notice the name there, inverts a device capable of storing electricity as chemical energy. 1859, a French physician, Gaston Plante, invents the first rechargeable battery. So in 1859. 1887, German scientist Karl Gassner creates the first dry cell battery, and he mixed gypsum, plaster, and liquid ammonium chloride to create a paste-like electrolyte. We're not going to get too into this stuff. 1950, a host of batteries with different chemistries are being manufactured using lead, nickel, cadmium, zinc, iron, and carbon. 1958, Eveready, battery engineer Louis Urey invents the first long-lasting alkaline battery. So that's just 1958. That's 70, not even 70 years ago. The 70s, researchers began experimenting with solid electrolytes. These solid-state batteries are more stable and have longer lifespan than liquid electrolytes, but they are also expensive and complicated to manufacture. 76, ExxonMobil invents a new kind of rechargeable battery with lithium. So we're talking 50 years ago, not quite 50 years ago, that lithium came onto the market. And then in 1980, John B. Goodenough.
He's not great. He's just good enough. Sorry, John B.
His name, John. You have the most interesting name in the world. Good enough, spelled just like you hear it. Goodenoughh. Good enough. I can't imagine how many jokes that person, John, had to suffer through.
Is that a stage name?
Maybe it is. But he created the first lithium ion battery. Okay. Sony in 1991 sells camcorders containing the first lithium-ion batteries. And 2024, lithium-ion dominates a booming global market for batteries, and there is a soaring demand for alternatives. And, of course, it goes basically to the huge demand on electric vehicles. I mean, that's really what this is all about. So anyway, so solid-state batteries are basically starting to come to fruition. And solid-state batteries are going to change the way that we think about batteries moving forward, because that price is really starting to come down. I don't have enough time in this segment to talk about this at length, but we will in the next segment. But I'm just reading from this one story. It's 2030 and you just bought your first electric vehicle. You took the plunge because of the car's solid-state battery, the same kind of energy-dense, ultra-safe battery, also powering your smartphone and other tech devices. Millions of drivers will soon join you, drawn in by better range, lower fire risk, and lower cost. So these are the promises of solid-state batteries, and they are starting to emerge on the market now. So it's kind of exciting, I think.
Yeah.
I like the lower fire risk. That's a huge deal. So, yeah.
I'd like to know more about the solid state nature of it, because
Talk of the Town, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.